Hi. So you decided to join me in another uncomfortable topic. Thank you for that. Today it's really cold here. It's minus 22 Celsius, which is really cold, and in an old house like this it's kind of hard to get up a temperature, so I'm a little more dressed than normally. Well, the topic that I want to talk about today is to be a victim of bullying. So even if you're a victim of bullying, it is one of the possible symptoms that you have a trauma in your background, a trauma that you need to look at, that is. And that seems to be really strange, right? Why? No, I will start at another point. Preparing for this, talking about it, I went onto YouTube and I looked at it, and it was full. There was like tons of people, hundreds and thousands of people talking about bullying. And by the way, in case I'm using the word mobbing, that's the word you use in German and Swedish, and it does sound English, but in English I know you say bullying, so just in case, then you know what I mean. So it seems to be that it's quite common these days, even in companies, among adults. Some new person starts in the workplace and everybody just goes for them. And then, of course, this internet stuff, this chat room stuff where people are getting put down. I've also, of course, experienced that with my children, that happens at schools. So now the bullying is even at your bedside, if you have the telephone on, that is. So that's really, really terrible. So this is really something that needs to be talked about. I, as one who, I've always liked the underdog. I've always tried to protect the underdog. That's maybe from my habit of trying to protect my little brothers. I had a really hard time to understand this, the whole concept of bullying. Why would you? So I had to do some work on this, and I hope I understood something. So I will try to make this visible from my point of view. Well, I start with my parents. Of course, both of my parents got bullied really badly. So, as I told you, my mother was a refugee for 2 years, and then when they got to a place where they could stay and go back to school, it was not like they were taken up with open arms, refugees welcome. That was not the case. Plus, as she told me, they missed 2 years of school. They didn't get extra help. So they just had to jump right in with everybody else who had gone to school these 2 years. So, yeah, you can imagine. It was really, really, really difficult for them to get their exams. My father, I've also told you this, when the bombs were falling in Berlin, and he and his 1-year-older sister got sent by themselves to the country. They were, I said earlier, they were used as kid slaves. They were really, really bullied. I actually don't know about my aunt. My aunt, my father's older sister, was hiding extremely well behind a quite aggressive behavior. In all kinds of ways. So I don't know. She never, as I have experienced, never gave herself any weakness. So she would certainly not have talked about this. And my father, of course, didn't walk around with this on a big sign either. So yeah, but they were treated really badly, and you could call that bullying, of course. How it was for them in school, I don't know. What I know is that after my grandmother also came to the country, there's this story that she went to the teacher and she said, Mr. So-and-so, would you please beat my children? Because I can't do it, and my husband is in prisoner of war. My husband is not at home, so I need help with beating the children. And then he did. As far as I know, as far as I remember, once a week on Fridays, he would just beat my father and his brother. I don't know about the girls, but because that was the belief that if you're not beaten, you won't be a good person. Yeah, I'm laughing. Yeah. That's one way of dealing with it, laughing. I've been crying a lot, though, over the years. Right, I think I would show you my picture. In this case, it is what I used for this topic was a certain situation, and I will tell you this story. So, this is a party. I was 13 years old. This is me, little me, here in a pink dress. I didn't have a pink dress, but I will tell you about that later. And everybody else is pointing big fingers and talking at me. And the story was this, that when I was 13 years old, and of course I was 1 year younger. So when I was 13, everybody else in my class was 14. So there was puberty coming. And there was talk about parties and kissing, and I had a really big problem with that, and I didn't know why. Because at that time, of course, when I get raped as a baby, that memory didn't resurface, as I told you, until I was way in my 30s. But then I had also gotten sexually assaulted or abused, how you want to call it, as an 8-year-old in the forest, where me and my friend were having a picnic, and we were not allowed to be there. We were not allowed to go there. And we did it anyway. And wow, synchronicity. This guy, who was a known, it turns out later, with police involved and everything, so he was a known perpetrator, a flasher, usually I think you call it, like showing his genitals to people taking walks. He found us there. There was nobody else there, and we had the great luck to be found there. And it was not done with flashing. We had to touch him, and he was hiding money in his underwear. And so anyway, and also that memory had disappeared. That was really traumatic. I had really bad dreams about this for many, many years. But the dreams didn't show that scene. So I didn't know why I had these dreams. until that memory came up through a film actually that I watched. But then I was 15 or 16. So that was before this time. So at this point, I didn't at all grasp why everybody else seems to be super excited about this male-female thing and games that were just talked about, because I'd never been at a party. This was the first party I ever was at. And the last for many years, because I never got invited again. Not surprising, you will see. So this was the talk, that at these parties these kissing games are played. One was like sitting in a ring, spinning a bottle, and then you had to kiss. And there was a stopwatch, and it was like timed to 1 minute, and of course kissing on the mouth. And there was another one which was called Sweet, Sour, Juicy, translation here, where the girls would sit outside in a ring and the boys would be one and one inside the ring, and like moving around one and one and one, like on a clock. And every time they came to the next girl, they would say sweet, sour, juicy. And sweet was a kiss on the mouth. Sour was a kiss on the cheek, I think. And juicy was a slap in the face. I mean, wow, you know, as a feminist, you well, you know, we were far away from feminism at that time. So, yeah, that was just the thing that was done. And there was one other game, and I can't remember it. But that was like the two main games. And this was talked about. And I remember that I reacted with almost throwing up. Just hearing about this. Just hearing, it would really, as you say today, trigger me. That word that wasn't around. I was reacting with fear, and the stomach would kind of almost turn. So I was really scared of this, not understanding why. And then my, at that time, best friend was going to have her 14th birthday party. And this talk of these games had also come to the parents. So I was even present when her mother made her swear that there would be no such games at her party. And she did. And then I said to her that really for me, this is so difficult. I couldn't do this, so you will keep your promise, will you? So she swore to me. I didn't ask for an oath, but she did swear an oath. As my best friend, that no, she wouldn't put me in that situation. And the party was in the basement. They had kind of this nice basement with carpet and stuff. And her parents went for a walk on purpose to show their trust, to make it clear. And they even said, we will be gone for an hour and a half or something. They announced it to show the trust for their daughter. And the moment they were gone, the very moment, somebody took out a bottle, or I think it was even my friend. I don't really know, because at that point everything starts to blur a little bit, because I, as anybody who knows about trauma and really strongly to get triggered knows, the world kind of starts to, it's very, memory is not working so well, because the whole world goes kind of wobbling. And the way I remember it, my friend didn't hesitate for a minute to go with the majority of the group and start to play these games. And then, as I tell you, it was very wobbly, so I don't know. I know that I tried. No, I think that first I left the room, because there was 2 rooms. The party was like in 2 rooms. There was kind of a buffet thing with some chips and stuff in another room. So I said, okay, I leave the room. So I left the room, and then they came out and they said, no, you have to be in and you have to be there. Because, of course, they knew it was forbidden, and they thought, I think they thought that if I wasn't participating, I would tell on them, which I would never have done, not with my sense of moral and duty and stuff. But so I know that at one point I was in, and I know this sweet, sour, juicy thing, that the only I said juicy all the time. So the boys, getting really angry, somehow they really smacked me. When I look at it now, it's like, wow, why did I do that? Well, I tried to, I thought I must try it. I must try to be part of this. Anyway, it came the point when I just couldn't be there anymore. So I went out of the room again, and I sat on a mattress on the floor with my back to the wall. And that is what this, so the wall would be here. So I choose to paint myself from the back, just as a support to myself, to kind of, when I was doing this, as a support to myself, like, I am behind you. Now you, me, my 13-year-old me, I'm behind her, and I'm an adult. So they came, I don't know, first they let me be there for a while. I know I was sitting there, just sitting there and hoping it to be over, because I wanted to dance, because that was what the party should be about. It was dancing. So I really wanted to dance. But then they all came out, and I don't know what happened in the other room. I don't know what their reasoning was. I wasn't there. So they all came out, and they stand like in this circle around me, stand in front of me. I'm sitting on the floor. They stand around me, and the way I remember it, everybody's talking to me, at me. And it was and I started to cry, and that was super humiliating. Super humiliating. I have one thing about the clothes. That is, my mother had made me go in a skirt and a white blouse. And everybody else had jeans. And I knew, of course, that everybody else would have jeans, because that was the cool thing. But she made me go in a skirt and a white blouse. She wouldn't listen to me. That's something I really worked on as a mother. I tried to give my daughters the freedom, and my son, the freedom to wear the clothes that they choose to wear, as long as it's financially possible. I mean, we're not in the position to buy Calvin Klein stuff, but I would like to, I try to support them going on raids to second-hand stores and looking for the cool stuff, and I think it mostly worked. But anyway, my mother wasn't capable of that. So that was also in like this outsider thing, that I was the only one in blouse and skirt, and I even think somebody laughed at that. That is not so important though. But that is why I may enter myself in this princess, this pink princess thing here. And so they're all talking at me for what seems a long time, which it probably wasn't, because they probably got bored. I start crying and crying, crying more and more. I can't speak anymore. I'm just crying. I feel completely humiliated. I feel physically in a corner, which I was, until they just left me again and said, oh, forget her, we just keep on playing. By that time, I am so lost that I just want to get out of there. So the moment they leave and they start to play again, take their attention off me, I sneak out of the house. I sneak out of the house and I start running home. Well, I think it was in February, anyway, it was raining really hard, and in my confusion, I forgot to take my jacket. So I basically, in full-fledged panic mode, run out of the house with a white blouse in the cold rain, and I even am so panicking that I leave the front door open and I run down the hill, because we were living down the hill. So I run down the hill, I get soaked, of course, it doesn't matter, I'm running, and then, since the door was open, I hear one of the boys shout from the house, she's gone, we gotta catch her, she's gonna tell on us. So I throw myself behind a parked car into the gutter. By then it was dark also outside, because I didn't want to be found. So by throwing myself into the gutter, I ripped this white blouse and I get some bruises. I think, yeah, that didn't seem important at all. And I get really dirty though. So they run out, they try to find me, I hear them talking, they don't see me, and then they give up, go back into the house, I hear the door shut. Then I run home. So, now this is how my mother sees me, who thinks I'm at the party at my friend's. Suddenly I ring at the door, I never had a key. I ring at the door, she opens the door, and there I'm standing, crying, wet, bruised, dirty, with a ripped blouse. So the only thing, and she freaks out. And I can just imagine that she saw rape all over me. Well, I don't know, but what I know is that, yeah, she didn't listen to me. She did not listen to me. She couldn't. I mean, I guess I think if she could have, she would have. But she couldn't. So she completely goes off. And I'm crying, trying to stop her, say no. She screams, takes me and runs to the telephone and rings my friend's mother. Calls my friend's mother. They had come back, so my friend's mother was in the kitchen. And screams into the telephone, there's something wrong. Anya is here, she's crying, her blouse is ripped. What is happening at your party? And I just try to stop her. I try to stop her and she doesn't listen. She doesn't listen to me. And I cry so hard that I can't talk so much. I just keep saying, no. Well, it didn't help. So she calls my friend's mother. My friend's mother, of course, gets really upset, goes to the basement and finds her daughter kissing a boy in a circle with a stopwatch. And then my friend's mother also overreacts, or reacts very strongly. I mean, you know, you can never judge somebody when you're not in their shoes, but what my friend's mother does is so they had promised to drive everybody home, right, after the party. But instead of like breaking off the party and driving everybody home, she goes to the telephone and calls everybody's parents, and now by now it's like 9:30 or something, or 10. I know that some people were already in bed, and she tells them, you have to get here this minute, this is an emergency situation. So they all throw themselves into their cars, and I know that somebody came in pajamas with a coat over the pajamas because they thought somebody was dying or something. You know, like food poisoning or drug abuse, or I don't know. So they, because this of course is hearsay, I hear this much later. So all the parents anyway come there very upset. My friend's mother waits till everybody's there, and then she says, your sons have, you know, this is what I heard, your sons have seduced my daughter into playing these no good games. And I think at least many of the parents were really relieved when they heard that, because they thought somebody was dying in, I don't know, an overdose or something. I know, I've heard that one of the boys' father said, you hysterical bitch, I think. So anyway, from my point of view, what happened after this was that I was bullied really, really hard every single day for the next 3 years by all the boys. The girls just cut me out. My friend also finished the friendship with me. Nobody asked me what happened to me. Nobody asked me why, is what I remember. And the boys, yeah, they did everything to punish me. I mean, rip off my new hat and trample it into the dirt, and yeah, everything, pushing, shoving, also kicking, and yeah, treating me really badly. And plus, of course, I never got invited to another one of these parties where there was girls and boys. I got invited to some girl parties. What definitely came from this was that I felt completely worthless. I felt like a total shithead. And I blamed myself. I totally blamed myself. I did everything wrong. I messed it up. So this feeling I walked around with for many years, and sometimes still do. Can still happen. That I just feel like a total loser. Like the other day I got really harshly criticized by my daughters, and I suddenly realize, when I think about it, I get really upset and really hurt, and I suddenly realize that I have the instinct to run, to leave the family, to leave the country. I mean, to just run. That's not very adult, is it? And of course I didn't. I mean, so this can still happen, right? To just run away. So a trauma is a situation which is too much. You can't handle it, you get overpowered. It's not the same for everybody, so you cannot compare situations and say, well, that person did so well. You know, why didn't you? That's of course what I was saying. Why can't I? Everybody else can do this kissing. Why can't I? I must be bad. So what happens is you put it on yourself, or very often you do. You put it on yourself. Which means you kind of make yourself less and less. You don't like yourself. You like yourself less and less. And thus, it seems you're more and more prone to be bullied. At least that is what I heard these psychologists say that I listen to. You're more and more prone to be bullied because it seems to be in the nature of energy that what you give out, you get back. In German we say, as you call into the forest, it comes back. Actually means something else, like you walk around aggressive, you get back aggression, which is maybe the same thing. So you walk around feeling worthless, not capable, whatever, and that doesn't even mean you can't do the job. That doesn't even mean you are not capable, it just means you feel like that. And you meet people, like you come to a new work situation or to a new, I don't know, group, any kind. You come in with that and people smell it. They just know it. And that's so interesting, isn't it? That really proves that we are much more than we think. That we're not rational beings. That we are very emotional beings, and it seems energy beings. Because how otherwise would they know? And they don't even know. I don't think most people are aware of it. They just start beating on you. Oh, look at that bitch. Look at that asshole. Da da da. Ba ba. And then there also seems to be this misunderstanding that if many people agree on something, it must be right. I think that has been, if you just look into history, that has been proven wrong many times, hasn't it? So it doesn't make it right just because the whole group agrees on she is stupid. That doesn't make it right. But the interesting thing is that it is a fact, statistical fact, that people who got abused as kids have a much higher statistical possibility to keep getting abused. And that is the same for sexual abuse, physical abuse. So, I mean, that is why it's so meaningful that we start to talk about this. And look at ourselves. Because it seems, okay, like this traumatized person with a bad self-image comes to a new company, to a new workplace, or into a new group. And people recognize this non-worthiness. They see it. And what does it do? It mirrors their own non-worthiness. That's what it does. Which they don't want, their own bit of it, whichever bit it might be, which they don't want to see. So they go into defense, which is offense. It's quite paradoxical, isn't it? They don't want to see their own non-worthiness. So if we would be adults, if we knew about human nature, then we would say, oh my God, I'm getting triggered. What a fantastic chance to look at this. What is this she's triggering? Or he? What is this in me? Where is this pain? Where does it come from? And then we could heal it, and we would profit. Personally profit from healing that. From healing this pain, which gets triggered. So to be triggered could be kind of the most positive thing. Wow, what a gosh, you know, I met this new person. She really triggered me. Wow, I was happy. You know, like, sounds paradox, but that's how it could be. Because thus I could look into it came up for me again, when my mother did this and this, when my father, when my uncle, when my teacher, and I could look at it again. So if we had the possibility, if we as a society would provide the room and the encouragement and the value of doing this, we could all heal together. We could help each other heal, instead of letting this trauma avalanche go down and get bigger and bigger. Right? So it's so time that we learn about human nature. We learn about ourselves. Who are we and how do we work? And why do we do the things we do? And actually take that into mainstream and take it serious. And take the work with it serious. So we can finally get free of all this, and we can work together and make something gorgeous, make something beautiful. Instead of digging ourselves down into this hole, deeper and deeper. Sorry. Yeah, I mean, this happened when I was 13. So there is 40 years ago about. What since then? A lot of knowledge has been gained, but what has happened in society? What is it the schools have understood, the kindergartens have understood, so that doesn't happen anymore? Not much, I think. At least not enough. Especially in the times of the mobile phones and the abstract communication, the digital communication. It seems to be blooming, this kind of culture of putting people down, spitting on the ones that already are lying on the floor, or kicking them. 40 years ago. It's amazing, huh? How long have we had these mobile phones? For 10 years? I mean, I find it so amazing that technologically we humanity develop so fast, but there's so little emphasis to look at who we are. And if it is to protect our children, and all children. So I think it's really necessary to look at that. Because I think everybody's getting bullied sooner or later, or has been. somehow put aside, put down. Let's not continue doing that, please. The sentence I used was, I'm exactly right as I am. Of course, I am exactly right as I am, because this is what I am. And this is my path and my story. I'm exactly right as I am. And you are exactly right as you are. Thank you very much for listening.